Hey, folks, man, this is Monk, and we are back with another episode of Classes of Cinematics, and I'm joined as always with my co-host. We got Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo.
And we are continuing our look at Stephen King's adapted films, man, for this month of October. It's spooky season, so we're digging into the horror. And today is going to be a big heavy hitter. We've got Misery.
In so many ways, dude.
From 1990, man. And let's see, in this story, after a serious car crash, novelist Paul Sheldon is rescued by former nurse Annie Wilkes, who claims to be his biggest fan. Annie brings him to her remote cabin to recover, where her obsession takes a dark turn when she discovers Sheldon is killing off her favorite character from his novels. As Sheldon devises plans for escape, Annie grows increasingly controlling, even violent, as she forces the author to shape his writing to suit her twisted fantasies. And this film came out, release date is shown here is November 30th, 1990. And this is crazy because this film comes out a couple days after it premieres on TV.
Yeah.
Directed by Rob Reiner. As a director, he's also did Stand By Me. He also did This Is Spinal Tap, which is a crazy, one of the first mockumentaries, as they call it. He also did The Princess Bride, which is a big cult favorite from A Few Good Men. You Can't Handle the Truth. Ghost of Mississippi. that's an interesting one. He also did The Bucket List. Oh man. But let's get into this cast real quick, man, because I think that's a big worth mentioning. Kathy Bates is Annie Wilkes. We've got James Caan, rest in peace, man. He passed away a few months ago.
Rest in peace, man.
As the author Paul Sheldon, we got Lauren Bacall as Marcia Sindel. We got a pig called Misery.
Misery the pig.
Yeah, we got Richard Farnsworth, who plays Buster. Was Buster the sheriff?
Buster was the sheriff.
Yeah, Francis Sturhagen.
And that was his wife.
The wife of the sheriff.
And the deputy. Small town life.
Jerry Potter, was that his agent? I think
that's Harry Potter's older uncle.
Who plays a guy named Pete. Wendy Bowers, and that's about it, man. Because other people, they're showing up in minor scenes. Because the film is mostly about Annie Wilkes and Paul Sheldon's
pretty much, yes.
Relationship or I would say experiences. Not like a relationship where like they are friends or comrades or even romantic. It's a wild scenario, man. So. Yeah, like the story says, man, my man, he gets caught in a snowstorm. He's actually driving up to where he wants to write.
No, he's actually driving back.
Oh, he's driving back from it.
He finished the book.
So
he has a routine. You know what I'm saying? So he goes up to this isolated cabin to write these books or to finish them, and then has a little bit of Dom P, smokes a cigarette, and it's out somewhere in Colorado because he's like from New York, which also. Testament to Stephen King. This is one of the first films that he didn't have stationed in Maine somewhere.
That is interesting.
So, and then it's like a snowstorm.
But you know what though? I think there's a reasoning behind that.
Absolutely.
This film is one of the few, or the story itself doesn't really have supernatural elements.
No, and also as far as from Paul Sheldon.
So in most, I feel like most of the ones that do are in Castle Rock or in that area. Yes.
And also this is the one they say Paul Sheldon, especially when you deep dive into the book. This one kind of mirrors Stephen King of what he envisioned himself as an author. These are some of the practices that he would take. In the book, they also deep dive a little more into the alcoholism, the addiction side of things, and the methods that he took while writing books and finishing them. Yeah. But ultimately, Paul Sheldon ends up driving a 1967 Mustang, I think it was.
In the snow. And
he's dipping, too. Man, I was watching it with my daughter. She was like, why is he driving that old car so fast down the mountain full of snow? I was
suspension, no limited slip
differential. The whole tires was completely white. He ain't had no chains on.
Crazy torque.
Yeah, and just dipping. But I will say this:
he's got stereo jam,
and he was listening to the coolest song. It was like the song's called "Shotgun." Shotgun, wing, wing, and he was just dipping, dude.
But the funniest part, man, is like they show him like on the road, like, and it looks like he's hitting the gas even further because when he wrecks, it just
he starts fishtailing. You don't see him hit the brake. He's like, oh,
yeah. So essentially, he wrecks his car, and Annie Wilkes finds him and digs him out, which is also an interesting prospect because the wild part about that is the timing of that just seems so crazy. Like you got saved, but also you got saved by your biggest fan. And
number one fan.
Yeah, so later on, we end up finding out that she's essentially stalking this guy's whole career. She knew he's in the area, and that's kind of one of her things is like, it'll be great if I could bump into him one day or encounter, but she knows where he's at all the time, and she just happens to be the one to discover him and save him from the wreck.
She tells him, he was like, thank God you were there. She was like, yeah, sometimes I would just go up the mountain and just look at that light. Like, I wonder what the greatest writer in the world is writing.
So
like,
she's
you're telling him that you stalking.
Yeah, she's close. But so, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it's crazy. But that's the scenario. So this author gets crashed in, and Annie saves him. So, what's one of the things we like about this film?
Yes. Well, one of the main things that I love about this film is the tension building. It starts at the beginning and continues to grow the whole way through. This one, even though there's no supernatural elements, this one really, it taps into human nature and fear, real fear, the fear of isolation, the fear of being alone, the fear of being unwell, being at the mercy of someone else who has to take care of you with maybe good intentions, maybe bad. And all of this really, I know Paul Sheldon, James Caan is our star, but Annie Wilkes, Kathy Bates is the Michael Jordan of this film. You know what I'm saying? She is the one who makes this film what it is for me because she accentuates all of those aspects. Like her demeanor, she's just so like she looks all like she just sits in that cabin and raises her little animals and bakes cookies and makes homemade pancake syrup and stuff, and then you come find out that she's not any of those things. As a matter of fact, she is the epitome of someone you should be scared of. The one that's overlooked, the one that is passed over, the one who has done these kind of things before.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, we get some hints of her background. All we know is that, like, her husband died or something like that.
No.
I forgot what it was.
When he finds the scrapbook.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, when we first meet
initially we get no indications.
Yeah, but I think they did allude to the fact that, her husband passed away or something, and she hasn't been dealing with that.
She said her husband passed and that she used to be a nurse. That's how she was able to like tend to his wounds. I mean, come on now. Like, how many people do you know that just like off the whim have like an IV bag, a drip drop, a bunch of needles?
She's got experience, man.
She's got all the nurse stuff that you would have in like a low end hospital in her home.
She's definitely experiencing that, but that's one of the aspects that I really do like about the movie is the portrayal. Her portrayal.
Yes.
Kathy Bates put in a Oscar-winning performance. Did she win the Oscar for this?
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So, and watching what happens here, but put it this way, man, this is crazy, man. This is like I said, this is for whatever reason, since her husband passed away, she's kind of just been reclusive, and her escape was in this author's work.
Yes.
So that's probably an unhealthy obsession with this guy's work, but she seems so independent out here, man. Like the scene I just watched pass by, she not only drags my man out the wreckage, but throws my man on the back.
She Lex Lugered him, dude.
This is a woman who's used to hard work. She's living by herself. For whatever reason, she hasn't decided to really integrate in with greater society, man.
Yes.
I think that's a interesting thing. But she drags him out, throws him on her back. Not only that, takes him to the thing and wraps him up. But then the sinister layers start peeling back, man, and it gets wild to me because we get to see he wakes up and she's like, "Yeah, I got you, blah." There's a terrible storm, And she's lying to him a little bit. Like
she's lying to him a lot of it.
As soon as the storm's done, we'll get you we'll call for help and we'll get you out of here. Meanwhile, she's done this crazy job on his legs that seem to be just broken in several places. Like, and I'm looking at his legs. I'm like, bro, like, what's going on with your feet?
And like bent crutches. Yeah. Oh, just real quick. In 1991, Kathy Bates became the first woman to win an Oscar for Best Actress in a horror or thriller film. The only other person to ever do that was in 1931, and that was the young man who played Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
That's a big breakthrough.
Shout to Kathy Bates.
I wouldn't classify this as more as a horror, even though
it's a thriller.
It's definitely a suspense thriller. But the thing that really stands out, like I said, is that her transformation. Because on one hand, when it first happens, you're like, oh my God, this is great that this woman came and dragged him along and taken care of him. She seems
almost angelic at first.
Yeah. And it's just, and it seems genuine, it does. Just the way the scenario's presented.
When he's like, I need to call my daughter. Oh, well, the phone lines are down. Oh, yeah. Why am I here? Oh, because the paramedics can't get through because of the roads. Everything seemed to make sense.
Yeah, at
first. And then, even though her job was makeshift, it still, it was more helpful than if your average everyday person were to find somebody like, man, shit, if I were to find somebody flipped over in a car, I can do. Yeah, I'm like, man, I got some duct tape and we can, I'll put some DVD cases around that thing. Wrap them up.
You're gonna be feeling all that pain.
And she seemed to, and she also seemed to have this genuine care for him. Like, you didn't know how sadistic her care, her love for him as a person was, but the thing that I really
I think though what sets that tone where we see how crazy. Well, like you said, this is the build up.
It's the build up
because right after that scene, the first introduction to Annie and him, then we see his office calling the local sheriff. Like, have you seen anything? We haven't heard from him.
And he's like, no.
We haven't heard from him. And the interesting thing is, the sheriff was like, nah, and this sheriff is like, it's a town, nothing happens here, man. There's probably like maybe 12 people living here.
He gets a phone call about some guy sitting on, this dude calls because he has a bench outside his store, and he's like, look, man, you put a bench outside, people gonna sit in it. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna tell this guy to move.
I love this character, man, the sheriff, man, he's dope, dude. Because, what's his name?
Oh, his name's Buster.
Yeah, Buster. I love Buster because Buster, for some reason, he's uneasy. He takes his thing, but he feels like something's wrong because I love the fact when he hangs up the phone and he asks his wife, when was that blizzard? And she was like, last Tuesday.
And that's exactly when the promoter said that they heard, yes.
And then it's like, well, obviously the town seems to be good. Like, that's last week though, and I don't know what day it is when that call is being made, but it's probably this previous week. So it's like the roads are probably clear by now, or we're moving. So what's going on? And he gets an inkling that something may have happened to this guy.
And not for nothing, on your point, I love that they give us that dynamic of the relationship between Buster and his wife Virginia, his deputy. Because see what they're doing.
She's the deputy.
She's the deputy too.
You can't do that now.
Small town living.
Somebody's getting fired.
But what it's doing is I think they're subconsciously giving us the compare contrast. Like, this is genuine love, wholesome love, versus what we're seeing in Annie Wilkes' house, where at the same time, her love for Paul Sheldon is at an all-time high. He doesn't even realize what's going on.
Well, I think she loves him just for the fact that he created what she loves, but she doesn't really love him. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a different kind of relationship. Because with Buster, they're both talking, but his wife has autonomy and he does too. So they both contributing. But with the Annie and the Paul situation, it's like, it's whatever Annie says goes.
So
she's steering the ship.
Here's the thing, though. This is when things go south, because what we start to find as the film goes through is Paul Sheldon. He's up there trying to find a different course path. This is his first novel that he's written after writing 8 of the misery novels that Annie Wilkes loves and holds so dear. And he
wants to end the series.
The series is already done. This was his first book. Away from the series, which Annie Wilkes doesn't know that. She's like, oh, can I read your book? He's like, normally my publishers read it first. I don't let anybody read these things. But And he was like, I'll go ahead and let you read it. And then what ends up happening, this is when we start to get a glimpse of the person that she really is, because she comes to him critiquing, and she's like, Paul, I don't want to kind of like throw stones at a genius or anything, but I don't like the swearing and this, that, whatever. And then she starts kirking off and spilling the soup. Like, look what you made me do.
I do have a question, but I think it's still the same series of books, but I think he's trying to end it because Misery is her favorite character, and he kills Misery.
No. The book that he's writing, it's about slum kids, and then he's like, man, slum kids curse. That's what they do. But see, what ends up happening is then the last installment of the Misery series drops.
It has come. Okay, that's where it is.
And then she gets it, and then that's when he knows. He knows it's about to go really, really, really bad.
That's her favorite character.
He's a dirty birdie because she's reading the book, and she keeps coming. She's like, oh my gosh, and this and this and this. Yeah. And as she's telling him, she's thumbing through these chapters and giving him day by day breakdowns of how far she is, and he knows that when she gets to the end, she's gonna find out that he killed off that character, and then this was his attempt to venture off into new endeavors as an author. And oh man, she comes in the middle of the night, she tells him she's gonna kill him, and then she was like, you know what? She was like, man, nobody's coming for you. Your publishers don't know. I never called nobody. Your daughter don't know. If I die, you die. And then even more, just like that's the thing. Like, this film is terrifying, not because of body horror or oversaturated gore. It does. I mean, there is a climactic point that we'll get to in a little bit.
Those are like the trimmings that we're putting on the sides.
It is the psychological terror that she instills on this man. Like, I mean, him, being helpless in this bed. You can't walk. You can't move. You can't even get out the room.
You can't wipe your butt.
Can't wipe your butt. She got you peeing in the tube and then wants to have a conversation, winging the tube around and stuff, hitting you with it. But
so I mean that speaks on to what I was saying with the characterization, because she does such a great job of like throughout like that initial complaint, because everything's good, but the first thing that sets her off, like you said, is the language that the second novel is being written in, the profanity.
She won't curse,
and it's hilarious because she won't curse, but at the same time she's like, if this, like, she's cool and calm. She's been so nice to him, but then she's like, it's like, I don't just go into Walmart and say, put the flour and flipping, dipping.
Give me that bastard pig feed.
And it's such a crazy escalation of character that we haven't seen from her yet. That it is alarming. He's like, whoa.
Well, and it's also it's funny that in her psyche, it's okay to kill people, kill babies. You find out that she was like a baby killer. You kill your husband. You kill all these other people. But you don't curse.
Don't curse.
It's all right to catch a body, but don't say the F word.
It's unbecoming. It's not what proper people would. That's not how proper people would talk.
No.
But I love the build, like you said, the build up, because that character, and he realizes that he's in a really bad situation, and I love the fact that he keeps prying and trying to get more information. Is it still raining? How long have we been here? What day is it?
Without knowing anything. Like, there's no clock. There's no calendar. He's just, only thing he can do is count the sun up and sun down.
He's stuck in his room.
He's stuck in his room. And then this is the other thing too, is where, once she feels like she has him at a stronghold, like the way she, initially rips his heart out is by taking his book and then having him. Like, she comes in with a grill in his room, like, you know what? Once she found out that he killed Misery, she was like, nah, man, you know what? This ain't that. This new book, nah, we not having that. This is what's got your mind somewhere else. And, it's flinging the charcoal fluid on the book. But then when she was like, I want you to light it up. Burn this book. And then starts winging the charcoal fluid on him. Like, these are the little insinuations to just show.
Sucks, man. I don't know if you've ever had something you worked on hard just destroying in front of you.
I have.
And that's just, it's
gut wrenching.
And not only that, but it also reinforces how bad this situation is for him. Because we give props to Kathy Bates for being the great Annie Wilkes, but I think James Caan is the great Paul in this too, man. You know what I'm saying? Because like, he's sitting here and dealing with this stuff and taking it, and it's just
being subdued.
He keeps the human element to her. He's the counter to her crazy, but it's also like I'm a human being on the end of this. I'm dealing with this crazy situation, man.
And to your point, yes, Paul is the human being, and it also emphasizes the fact that she is not. But she will never, never, never not establish dominance and show that she is in control. Mm-hmm. Like, she will always let him know that she is in control. And also, at this point, once after she makes him burn the book, then in her warped mind, she's like, you know what? Now that you're refocused and you're here, we're going to go ahead and have you write another misery book.
Yeah, so, but I think, like I said, man, because, going back to Paul as the victim, man, like, it's a part where he got to submit for survival purposes. And that gets interesting to me, too, man, just the conversation dynamics. And after, in the beginning, he's kind of poking fun at her, making fun this is Annie, the A and the E, that's or whatever, my favorite nurse, and this is all, he's trying to keep it light with her and not come off in the ways that are going to set her off, but then ultimately he's not in control of that, because there are times when he's being, as nice as he can and be to her, and she still flips out, man, but it's like that survival mechanism kicks in, man, and I think he does a really good job, being in that position and conveying that like, it's like, yo, dude, I gotta appease my tormentor. It's like you're hanging out with Debo. It's like you're doing mind control over Debo. You want him to be cool while you're around him, but when he goes away, you'll talk shit and you try to do things. And I think it's really dope to see him portray that.
And he does a great job, because it shows. Once he realizes what's going on, he's on full-on survival mode.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? Full-on survival mode. And yet again, a testament to the tension building by the directors, by the camera work, the songs that are playing. I mean, the first time when he gets out of the room, like he makes that little paperclip thing, he's even surprised with the hairpin. Yeah. He was surprised in himself. He was like, yo, I wrote this, happened in a book. And then when it actually worked, and dude, the whole time he's wheeling through the house and everything.
Oh my God.
You're sitting there, you're like, oh my God. And then
that's such a great scene, because it's juxtaposed with her coming back from the store.
Like the way they're flipping, like him frantically wheeling through the house, her frantic or driving ever so calmly, just whipping like she has nothing to worry about. This is when also the penguin drops that should have been facing due south but wasn't. But we'll get into that later on as well. But this is when, we start to really get that sense like, yo, he's conjuring a plan to escape. Like, he has to do something. And that's when he finds a stack of those pills, which she keeps calling, in the book version, they call them novel, which is I read this up. It's the real life version of what we would call codeine. So, and in the book, also, he had heavy alcoholism, drug addiction. So by her constantly feeding him this novel, kind of reopened up his addiction. That's why when at later points in the film, when she gives him the typewriter and he's like constantly like she just doping him up, and he's just like kind of, because what does that scene emulate? Exactly what we got from Jack in The Shining.
But it's also parallel Stephen King's real life. Like I said, if you know anything about
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
I said this before, but check out his autobiographical guide to writing called On Writing, and it's just a great read, man. Shout out to Cornelius. He actually sent me a physical copy of that, but I had I think I had a audio version of it and the digital one from Kindle at one point.
And that's the thing, like, and that's the other thing too. I love how Stephen King films will always, kind of find ways to like not intertwine the films, but pay homage to, because like in Misery, the typewriter that Annie Wilkes gives him is also missing an end, like Jack's computer or typewriter in The Shining. It's just those little things that
I think a lot of it too is him putting his own personal
stamp of
life,
approval,
his own personal experiences into this too, man.
But also, it's ways to intertwine all of the stories. All of his stories, they still have like some kind of connection, and a lot of times it's a lot of
it's through him. Like I said,
through him. This is another story. Location.
It's another story about a writer. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what's another thing that stands out to you in this?
Oh gosh, It's the villain. I mean, you know, we've talked about Kathy Bates. We've hit on that. But it's the way that they give us a new style villain. You know what I'm saying? Like I love the fact that, you know, with her subdued nature and the over niceness and everything.
It's just a great hot and cold performance.
It is.
Coming from her.
And this is not what at this point in film history, like, we don't get too many villains of this nature. You know what I'm saying? We
don't get a lot of women villains.
A lot of women
that are pulling this kind of weight with it. Because like I feel like a lot of times in a film like this, it would be the woman that would be the one that's being victimized. But we've got the woman being the tormentor. And I think that's a really cool flip that we don't get to see explored a lot, especially good ones.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, not for nothing, I mean, a testament to the villainy that was provided to us in this. Annie Wilkes ranks 17th out of 100 on American Film Institute's list. I
put her on my list when we were doing that villains run. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
I put her on my list.
And so that I feel, I mean, like, it's hard to watch this film without just, you know, really just being in awe of the way that this villain is portrayed. She's not Freddy, she's not Chucky, Jason. I mean, she just looks like someone that couldn't hurt a fly, but can do so much worse. And I think that is great. Another thing that really stands out to me is when we finally do reach our third phase, the climactic phase of this film, it's the way it's delivered. It's so subtle, so structured, but so scary. I mean, when you hear the music that's playing, like, you know, after she, you know, pretty much establishes that he has gotten out of the room, she lets him know that I know now, at this point, you've been out of your room twice. She comes in middle of the night after she tells him that she was going to off him. I better just leave. She comes back, dopes him up, and he's waking up. She's strapping him down and stuff. And, you know, she's shoving the log in between his legs, then goes into the origin of what's called hobbling, practice that was supposed to be done in some mines. But
right before that, mind you, he's tried, like we're at a point where he's getting better. You know what I'm saying? And,
he's all the way better. His legs are better.
Yeah, and he's actually
he's exercising with the typewriter. He's, you know, his shoulder's good,
and he's actually found a pretty decent way to exist with her. He's still playing that game where he's trying to not set her off, but also trying to not look like it's a dance you're doing, because you don't want to withdraw too much to make them suspicious, but you don't want to engage too much to make them suspicious. And he's found a happy medium.
Yes.
You know, up until that point, to the point where the writing is going good. She's liking what he's writing. They have a good dinner, you know, and it seems
I'm glad you brought that up, dude, because that was also his first failed attempt at escape, because he, you know, because she's liking the writing, and he finally, he kind of almost, he gives into her wants. He's like, you know what? I'm going to start writing this story, and I'm going to pull her all the way in. I'm going to give her everything that she wants.
Yeah.
Then he's like, you know what? The book's coming to an end. I want us to have a celebratory dinner. Or no, I'm sorry. That's a little before. Yeah, the book's coming to an end. I want to have a celebratory dinner, and you know, she dresses up, and you know, meatloaf, and she makes. He was like, "Oh, how do you make this meatloaf so special?" She said she put Spam in it. I was like, "Well, my God,
I would try that.
I would too." Hey man, you never know. You know, I love meatloaf. I never tried it with Spam in it. Annie Wilkes, but this is when he finally, like, he spends the whole night prior, like, popping these little capsules, and he has a whole thing, and he pours it in her wine. And this is where, like, they never really elaborated, but I think that she knew he was trying to do something. She knew that those pills was missing, because she accidentally knocks over the first glass of wine, you know, and he's like, oh man, it's like another failed attempt. And this is, you know, by this point, she also is telling him that, you know, because Buster had came in. Remember, prior to this, Buster comes in. He's like, and Paul Sheldon's like, he's like, yo, I'm down here. And then this is when she plugs Buster with the shotgun, and then she wants to do some more like Romeo Juliet type stuff. And she's like, you know, now, you know, people are going to come. I'm going to have to take you out, because her plan was to hold him hostage and have him.
But all of that, like, she shows him the gun and all that, you know, like, I'm trying not to get too just shot for shot with it, but but yeah, that comes to the point. But so he's doing this dance, man. They take out the sheriff. But then we get to that scene with the hobbling.
Yeah. So after that failed attempt and everything, yeah, man. So, the hobbling happens. It's like, and the way that, this is the high point of this film. This is the part that everybody remembers. And, what makes it so scary is because it's so subtle. Mm-hmm. Like they're playing this creepy music and she's just like, she's unnerved, like nothing's bothering her. She's shoving the log in his hand, and she's just talking to him. Explains the origin of hobbling and what she's about to do to him. And then, what really trips me out about it is, as it happens. The visuals are just, my God, they're gut wrenching. You see what happens. Oh, geez, Loey. But then, what ends up happening is in between, like you see her crack a smile as she's cracking his ankles up, and as she proceeds to finish hitting home runs on my man's feet with the sledgehammer, might add. Then it's almost like she seductively looks at him, like she almost really got off on this, and looks at him and is like, God, I love you. Like it's like that's what it took for you to really feel like you could express yourself. Like that's at that point, I feel like in the film
she's been expressing herself pretty much the whole time.
But at this point, this is where she felt like she had him for life, and that's where that's the difference between saying, "Oh, I love you," to saying, "Well,
I feel like it's one of the moments where we've been seeing this. Like she could have been let him go. Like even she could have. Even when my man Buster was like, that was last week.
Yeah,
she should have been made the effort. She's driving in and out of town. This whole time running errands. Like, why don't I just tell the world that? So for early on, we know he's not getting out of this, man, until she decides that it is over. But it's a great the way it unfolds and everything. I think it's doing a great telling of all of that. And we just know that there's not going to be no happy end of the ball, man.
And also it's the give and take. Like what this film it is the perfect example of like the phrase like ripping off the Band-Aid. She literally nursed him back to health to hurt him worse than he was hurt the first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. At this point, whatever's going on in her mind that like only she knows. I was doing some tattoo work and one of my customers and I brought it out and I was like, you haven't seen Measure? He's like, man, you gotta see this just because of what this is, man. We got the great performance, and the story itself is just so cool, man. The way this plays out, man. The scenario itself is just crazy. It makes me wonder, like, what is in Stephen King's head to even come up with this kind of scenario, man. It's dope, man. It's one of the ones that stands the test of time.
Absolutely. I could watch this film anytime. This one is, like you said, this is one of the ones. It is an everlasting film. Doesn't matter if you watched it when it first came out or 20 years from today. It's still going to hit the same. It's still going to give that same feeling and terror. This is a different phase of
different
terror.
Kind of terror.
This is real life terror. This is things that can really happen, things that might have happened in other forms or fashions.
You know what reminds me of this a little bit. It's not the same scenario, but just the helplessness of our protagonist, Monkey Shines.
Yeah.
When that dude is in the wind and he can't do nothing about what this monkey's doing to the people around him, he just has to eat it.
even on a more deeper level, it shows the power of love when it's not used in a good way, and also.
I don't even know if that's love. Is that it's just like fanaticism? Is it? This is just like
at the end of the day, you're over infatuation. To be in love with someone.
We kind of see that sometimes now. That like I feel like Annie Wilkes would be one of these people that online that. Like, just say if Annie Wilkes was a Kanye West fan and Kanye says something crazy like he's known to do, and she would be the one in the comments like, "Don't talk about him like that."
But then, even more than that, though, what this film emphasizes more to me than anything is, when you believe in somebody that you think is trying to help you, when their intentions are not good. We have all been there in life. Where you put faith in the wrong person, even though his faith was instilled by force. he thought that her intentions were good when she knew out the gate that they were wrong, and she was just manipulating the situation and him and everything about it.
You're only liking Paul because he's doing what you like.
What you
and the
want.
minute he steers left, or then you don't agree with it.
Now he's a dirty birdie.
It's like somebody's. I don't know, man. I guess we see that now with internet culture. Like I love what Marvel's doing with their films, but then you have people that soon as they could do 99 things right, and they do that one thing wrong, and then it's like fuck you forever. Like everything else you've done that they've enjoyed is thrown out the window just for that one thing that you did wrong.
And a lot of times it's also overly influenced by the masses. You know what I'm saying? But this, Paul Sheldon, at the end of the day, no one wants to be a puppet at the end of the string. You do not want to be, having Geppetto pulling your strings.
But also, it speaks to, as the creator, you can do what you want, man. I mean, I've definitely taken in some media where I felt like, dang, I like that character. Why is he dead? But at the end of the day, it's not my creation. I mean, I don't know, man. I guess y'all can tell by how we're talking about this. This film is definitely, it's on the higher end of the adapted, films of Stephen King.
Almost parallel.
And it gives you a lot of things to think about, man. And I think it's one that's worth revisiting because the themes in it are so universal and so timeless that you can, apply some of what these characters are doing to things that are currently happening. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So I think that's what makes this thing stand out a whole lot, man. We're going to wrap this up, man. This has been another episode of Classes of Cinematics. Please continue with us throughout this month, man, as we look at Stephen King's adapted filmography. And this has been Catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter, Instagram, and follow at FromTheCanopy on Instagram. I'm messing that up. I'm going to edit that. And follow Classes of Cinematics on Instagram.
And this is Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me at Bobby Blockbuster 118 on Instagram. And please protect your ankles.
Dude.